It's always an identity shift. And one of the things that I always tell my clients is it's not just strategy that's going to work, right? There's so many strategies out there. It's an energy and an identity shift. There's three parts to that. It's a lot of people think it's strategy, and I also thought that, but it's definitely a shift of identity. You know, a lot of my clients also come from the 9 to 5 background, the corporate background, and it's in the beginning, it's a bit challenging to shift their identity from, you know, that mindset into an entrepreneur mindset, into a business owner mindset or CEO mindset. So that is something we work with in the beginning to shift their identity. And then second comes the layer of energy. It's like, what's your energy behind the work that you're doing or behind the strategies that you're using? If we're coming from an energy of lack or, you know, not enough, or, you know, that I need clients right now, or like that desperation, like it somehow it just doesn't work. And but if we're coming from a place of our energy of love and expansion and giving and adding more value than anyone else on the planet, like, you know, that's when it starts to work.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. Appreciate you joining in today. We have an awesome guest I'm really excited to share with you. Her name is Rashi Nayar, and she is a business coach, fellow IINer, and she really helps health coaches establish themselves in the business space, which is what this show is completely all about. And I'm very excited to chat it up with her. We kicked it off really well. It was an awesome origin story, and just her history shows how she was able to merge her business acumen with health coaching and is really out there helping a lot of health coaches do big things in the business world. So as always, please leave a rating and review on iTunes. It helps me get great guests like Rashi, and just continuously doing the service of health coaches. As you know, I have some upcoming things that I want to share with you regarding potential of a collaboration with some great guys, and we're going to be doing some really cool programs for health coaches going forward. I also have my book coming out, and if anybody's interested in a free advanced copy, please email me at Omar at OmarCumberbatch.com, and I will send that over to you free of charge if you can hook me up with an Amazon review once the release date is out. And that'll at least open up the communications with us, and then we'll just coordinate it accordingly so we can make a little impact on that algorithm on Amazon. So definitely jump over and hit me up if you're interested. Omar at OmarCumberbatch.com. Let's jump into the show. Hey, Rashi, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, Omar, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, no, it's always a pleasure to have a fellow IIN alum jump on the show and start talking about stuff about business and health coaching and whatnot, because, again, we share kind of the same path. And I found that my journey is probably interestingly similar to yours in the sense that I end up teaching you a lot about coaching, and I think a lot of the health coaching schools do that. But what do we do afterwards? How do we get this business going? How do we start making a living in something that we do? So I want to give you an opportunity to jump into your origin story, because I think it's a really good one, being that you did go to IIN and become a health coach, but you are also a business coach. And as I grow, I think that's almost more important than the health coaching at this point. But that's just my opinion, and I would love to hear your take on it and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Omar. Thank you so much, for having me. I'm really excited to be connecting with another IIN grad as well. And so as far as my origin story, it's I've always had a knack for running businesses. I've run a business for 10 years in Melbourne, Australia, where I used to live before I moved to US and then moved to Canada. And then, I got married, and then I had my first baby. And then that was the time where I was going through my own health crisis. So I got diagnosed with hypothyroid. I had, put on a lot of weight. I was close to 210 pounds. And I was in a very miserable shape, to the point that I couldn't even hold my newborn for more than 5 minutes. I was brain fogged, exhausted. There's a lot going on. And that was kind of like the break or make point for me. And I was like, I really need to do something about my health. And I joined IIN and I really wanted to dive in deep into learning, holistic health, like how to balance or how to take control of my health. And in the process of learning at IIN, I was able to lose all of the weight. I was able to reverse my hypothyroid, got my test back, everything was normal, and I just felt great. And I had this newfound inspiration to just start helping other moms that were going through the same thing. A lot of moms get diagnosed with hypothyroid post-pregnancy. And I just found that motivation to help them, heal from that. And in the process of that, I just started again, fell in love with my original passion of building businesses. And as I started doing that, I found, of course, with trial and error, with everything, because online world is different than offline. And I was more used to building brick and mortar businesses than online. So I obviously discovered that it's not that straightforward. But once I was able to find that a few things that actually started working for me, I got a few, people from IIN, my own coaching circle that were part of my group. I started getting them to ask for support with their business. And that's how it all started. I started helping other colleagues with their businesses, and I became a business coach. So basically started helping other health and wellness coaches to grow and scale their businesses, through marketing strategies and things that actually work. So this is where I am right now.
No, that's awesome. So like, I guess the natural question is, because a lot of people who are starting out, did you serve the type of niche that you were with your issues? Was that your natural segue to getting a niche established?
Correct. Yes, exactly. So I was just going through my own issues of hypothyroid, brain fog, exhaustion, and I was just tired all the time. And obviously, I was overweight as well. I was a lot overweight, to the point that I'd never gained that much weight. And it's just feeling like you're not able to get much done. So it just started speaking to me to just help those people, or specifically moms. I mean, later on, I started getting some dads as well. But in the beginning, it was just the intention was to help moms, because moms have a lot on their plate. And so do dads, but it's just like the initial stages of postpartum. There's a lot that, moms do for towards their kids, towards their babies.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So basically just what I was going through, it just became my niche naturally. Yeah.
Right. I always kind of plug that because I know a lot of us do have difficulty finding what that actual niche is. Everyone keeps talking about it. And I guess one of the things that I've always struggled with was the fact that I didn't want to be pigeonholed into a
Yeah.
specific niche and all that kind of stuff. Can you talk about the importance of doing that, especially like you did mention the online world is different from offline, because I
Yeah.
think online is more important to actually get that established than offline. But that's a
Mm.
deeper discussion if you ever want to dive into that one.
100%. We'll definitely do that. Yes, so that's a great question. Even I felt that when we reach the part in IN when they ask us to niche down, right? That's where I was like, but what would be my niche? And I just don't want to pick hypothyroid, and I just don't want to pick moms. And I was like, I will be excluding everyone else that actually might need my help. But when I got my head straight and I started reading about, started reading leaders like Alex Hormozy and, Tony Robbins and like all of the leaders, started immersing myself into just learning about niching. It was kind of like an agreed thing that riches are in the niches. Like this is the thing that came out.
Yes.
And basically the message was that if you pick a niche, you kind of become an expert in something. And that kind of gave me the confidence, was like, you know what, I've already reversed my own hypothyroid. I know things, obviously I'm from India and I've learned a lot about Ayurveda, and a lot of things that I used was based in Ayurveda, how I was able to reverse my hypothyroid. So I just wanted to share that, and I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to just pick one thing and then just expand from that. Why not just start small, just start from one place, and then I can always expand. And you know what? The funny thing started happening was I started getting clients from with all sorts of things. I started getting moms with diabetes, started getting moms with PCOS, PCOD, started getting moms with gut health issues. So it was like, started getting these requests that, okay, if you're serving hypothyroid, can you help me if I'm struggling with diabetes? I was like, yeah, sure. So all of those things started happening just because I committed myself to one thing. The other thing that niche does or did for me and always does for me now as well is gives me focus. It gives me that sense of direction that I don't feel like I'm being pulled into multiple directions, and I have one thing. I can create one program. I can create content on one topic, It's not about thinking about multiple topics. Like, what do I even post? Because that was when I was going through it, and I was like, but what am I going to post in my content? Or, what am I going to say? Like, I don't even know. But once I found that one thing, everything started to fall into place. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's funny because a lot of where I started was reading the book, The One Thing. I don't know if you've read that one.
No, I haven't.
Check it out. It
Okay.
basically it's a really interesting read, but the premise is basically if you can do what's the one thing you can do that makes everything else easier or unnecessary?
Hmm.
And I hear what you were struggling with the the chasing that content. What do I do? What do I write about? Who do I, like
Hmm.
it kind of confuses you. So for me, it was kind of like I'm gonna do a podcast, and that's gonna satisfy my video, transcription stuff. I can have blogs about my guests.
Hmm.
And just by doing this one thing, everything else was like
Hmm.
easier.
Hmm.
And a niche is the same kind of thing, right? Like at the end of the
Correct.
day, if you can just it could be once you're all over the place, your energy just kind of gets jacked up.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
so yeah, I definitely get it.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, that's basically it, and doesn't have to be specific to a specific issue. It can be like you just picked like a podcast. I'm going to focus all of my attention and energy on building my podcast. So that's just one thing, right? And you just said it so beautifully. It's really that one thing. You just start from that one thing, and we just make it very complicated for ourselves in the beginning, which is pretty normal part of the process, as coaches. Um, where we really want to help everyone and we really want to do a lot of things and make a big difference.
Yeah.
But just committing to that one thing is what gets us started, and then we can expand from there.
No, totally.
Mm.
So it seemed like you were really, I don't want to say lucky, but fortunate, maybe, in whichever way you want to call it, to get a client base kind of right out the gate. So was that because of your business background? How did you do that? And what like marketing strategies do you suggest health coaches utilize that they can make their practices bigger and actually get clients in the door?
Yeah, that's a great question. And want to add that it didn't happen in the beginning. Even though I had my niche and everything ready, I didn't have clients. And I had started investing in business mentors, started looking around. Um, at this point, then I had invested in 3 business mentors and I didn't have a single client. So at this point, I had invested 25K without a client. And everyone's telling me different strategies, post more content, cold DMs, all of that, right?
Mm.
And it was just not working. And especially a lot of coaches that I'd hired were promoting Instagram at that time. And I was posting on Instagram. I was posting whatever content they were telling me, controversial content, and myth busting content. It was transformation content. I was posting my before and after pictures. It was a lot that I was doing, but no clients, right? So I was like,
Mm.
wait, like this is not really working. I mean, what's going on? Like, why is this? Nothing is working. And at the time, I was working with Lululemon, so that was my job, right? Like I was doing my 9 to 5 job, and trying to build my business. So at the time, I was just about to give up on my coaching business. I was like, you know what, this is not working. But this was my dream. I mean, I had a dream of becoming a coach since 2016, but I was not pursuing it because I really didn't know my niche. I mean, I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. Am I supposed to be a health coach, a spiritual coach, a life coach, or a relationship coach? And until I had until I got diagnosed, post pregnancy, that was kind of like the clarity. Okay, health would be the focus of my work. But going back to that place where I just was like, you know what, I am about to give up because I've invested at this point in obviously IAN, right? And then in different business mentors, but this thing is not working. So maybe it's not meant to be. But then last shot, I really wanted to take and give my honest shot at it. And I did. But I still wanted to find something. I knew that there's a missing link here, that there's something missing. And then I found my fourth and forever mentor. I'm still with him, and we're now business partners. And he completely changed the direction of my business. His name is Vinayak, and basically, when I joined his mentorship program, I stopped looking at Instagram. Instagram was just not working for me, so I started focusing on two main platforms, which was Facebook and LinkedIn. And that's where I started getting leverage in terms of content, in terms of conversation. So there's only mainly two things to marketing in a top view is content plus conversations. There's only two things really that you can have with people. It's either you post content that converts or you have conversations that convert, right? So that's basically what I started doing. And within 90 days of working with my mentor, I made all of the money back that I'd invested in business mentors and more. And it just turned around and I got even more clarity. Things started becoming easier. Now, that was kind of like what got me back into the coaching industry. I was like, you know what, I really want to make a difference in the lives of coaches. And that was my inspiration, because a lot of coaches I found are spending a lot of money in business mentorships, but they're not getting the results that they want. And that's the direction I started taking. I was like, I want to start a movement called ethical coaching. What do I mean by ethical coaching is that you actually, when you commit to your clients that, there's certain results that you can expect at the end of working with me, then that's what I stand by. And that's what I did. I started connecting with health and wellness coaches and started letting them know, hey, you know what, this is a results-oriented or results-driven program, which means you'll make all of your investment back or you'll double your investment. This is basically what I started promoting, and it started working. My clients started getting results, and it was just the same marketing strategies that I had learned. And I'm happy to share that, by the way. It's just very simple. We can definitely get into that if you have further questions.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to hear it. Before you jump into it, because I don't want to forget, but because and I don't want you to forget to jump into it as well. But do you primarily help the health coaches now, or do you still have like your health coaching practice where you're actually dealing with those issues as well? So do you have like, in other words, you have two tracks to your business model, or it's just primarily being focused on the business side at this point?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I no longer have my health coaching practice. I still do get clients, but I refer them to my clients who are also health coaches. So, it's just a win-win situation for my health coaching clients who want to work with me, but also clients who are health coaches that want clients. So, yeah.
No, yeah. I kind of in there too. Like what, and it sounds like we had similar paths.
Yeah.
You were dealing with this, say, in 2016, and I don't want to say it gets old, but this business thing is more exciting, especially like when you're learning it and it's like you want to share. So I kind of get what you're saying, because
Yeah.
that's where I am now. It's like, hey, I was the person who overcome like sugar addiction, and
All right.
now that's like, wow, that's 15 years ago, and it's so
Mm.
second nature. And it's kind
Mm.
of, I don't want to say boring. I mean, I can admit to you and the audience, because they know they've listened to me for a while.
Yeah.
It's different. Like you would kind of
Mm.
always want to expand into the stuff that you're like currently learning and want to share, like
Mm.
get excited about. So just
Mm.
curious. I guess we have similar observations in that path.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? Your love can change. It's like there's always this like you can expand, you can change your niche, and something might come up that might draw me to something else later on in life. You never really know. You're always open to things, but business has been like my father has been in business, like our whole family has been in business, and I've always seen that growing up. And I always told myself I'll be an entrepreneur growing up, I'll be
Mhm.
in business. So it's just that thing. It just I feel like it's in My dad always says that it's in your blood. I don't know what that means when he says that, but it's always like I get very excited about business and how to grow businesses, how to, have more income, how to scale, how to do things the right way. It just gets me on fire more than the hypothyroid thing did. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And it's also amazing that you were able to have the benefit of having an entrepreneurial family. So I
Mm,
always think of it as, you're very fortunate because I grew up in like a civil service, government, work 9 to 5
mm.
paradigm. And it is hard to to break.
No,
It's
you're
just
right.
the stuff that you have learned and through your family experiences is you can never discount it because it's really it definitely shape you. So I'm happy that you're able to just get that entrepreneurial soul, and help so many
No,
different
thank you.
people.
No, thank you for saying that. It's always an identity shift. And one of the things that I always tell my clients is it's not just strategy that's going to work, right? There's so many strategies out there. It's an energy and an identity shift. There's three parts to that. It's a lot of people think it's strategy, and I also thought that, but it's definitely a shift of identity. A lot of my clients also come from the 9 to 5 background, the corporate background, and it's in the beginning, it's a bit challenging to shift their identity from, that mindset into an entrepreneur mindset, into a business owner mindset or CEO mindset. So that is something we work with in the beginning to shift their identity. And then second comes the layer of energy. It's like, what's your energy behind the work that you're doing or behind the strategies that you're using? If we're coming from an energy of lack or, not enough, or, that I need clients right now, or like that desperation, like it somehow it just doesn't work. But if we're coming from a place of our energy of love and expansion and giving and adding more value than anyone else on the planet, like, that's when it starts to work. It's like the people that you're connecting with or content that you're posting, all of a sudden it just starts working. So there's definitely three pieces to that. One of them is identity, as you mentioned. Definitely hard to break, but can definitely be changed if one is willing to.
hmm Do you think that's the biggest obstacle, especially when someone's trying to shift that identity, is breaking it in the sense that they just release it, or there are the dynamics that are underlying that might have some some hold on people.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not breaking because we don't really break away from it, but it's more embracing our previous identity and then jumping into a new identity. If we try to resist something, like let's say I'm trying to resist an identity of, I don't know, I don't know what to say, but give you an example of I'm trying to jump away from an identity into another identity. I cannot do that if I'm resisting my previous identity because that's more force there. So whatever you resist persists, right? I'm sure you've heard of that. It's just the law of physics. Like if we suppress and push down things, they just come out faster and, just kind of spurt. But it's more embracing where you are, but then making a conscious decision of jumping into a new identity and then priming yourself every single day. And that's what Tony Robbins says. I mean, it's not something that I've learned, but I've learned it from him. I'm a big fan, by the way, Tony
Mhm.
Robbins, and all of my clients know. And it's priming yourself every single day to to think and tell yourself that this is who you are, the identity you're jumping in. And eventually it just becomes your second nature, with time. So it's a habit that we can build, just like in health. It's a habit that we build. For example, when you had a sugar addiction, maybe you went off sugar completely, or I don't know. I'm curious actually, what did you do?
Well, what's funny
Super
is
interesting.
I kind of went cold turkey,
Ah,
shockingly,
mm,
but with one little caveat. I did still use stevia because that was
mm,
the one that I did the research on that had no impact on your blood sugar
mm,
levels, and it
correct.
also was from a natural plant. And
Mm,
I was very intrigued with that. And eventually, and I tell people all the time, and I know as a sugar addict, it's impossible to imagine, but your taste buds really changed. I mean,
Mm,
things become too sweet. And I was like
yeah.
someone who literally, I used to drink Coke and I had to like start drinking Pepsi because Coke eventually became not sweet enough for me. That kind of
Mm,
crazy. And
yeah.
so for me to even say something like that in that time was just there's just no way that was possible. But
Mm,
yeah, I would think I would say it was more on the cold turkey instead of the weaning off, but I did have some assistance from the stevia
that's
for a
great.
spell. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. This one
Mhm.
is more like building a muscle. You know, you train yourself in the gym every single day, and then the
Mhm.
muscle happens, right? That's like the byproduct of that.
Yeah.
So this is more like training your mental muscle and really, it doesn't have to be forever. Like within 30 days, this can happen because you're priming your brain to think differently and you're telling yourself, and of course we use like the traditional coaching methods like vision boards and goal cards and future self drawings and all of that to
Hmm.
really soak that in that, hey, this is the identity I'm jumping and I'm ready. And that's all that's needed. Of course, your previous identity might pull you back sometimes, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. But it's the conscious taking action, consistent action towards what you're trying to build a business, because that's what it is. It's consistent action. Um, Again and again, it's the same thing. It's just like training yourself in the gym. You go there and you train. It's the same thing as building a business is the same thing. You're just consistently doing it, not when we feel like doing it, because a lot of us sometimes get into business and it becomes like a side hustle almost. It's like, you know what, I'll do it when I feel like doing it. I post content when I feel like doing it. I've been there, by the way,
Hmm.
and it just doesn't work. Like, we have to be consistent. We have to show up consistently, and so we have, like, in our container, we have this 3 hour workspace that we work in. It's like every hour we know exactly what we're doing. So the first hour we're doing content, for example, creating our content. The second hour we're doing posting and we're connecting with people. And the third hour is when we're learning a new skill. So it just becomes very simple. Um, just beats that procrastination and the self-sabotage or something that we get into normally.
Mm. That's great. Yeah, and I think that structure definitely helps. And like you said, if you're
Mm,
doing it on a consistent basis, it becomes second nature and it's
yeah.
something that can create momentum. So yeah, I really appreciate that. I want to just jump into for a second initial steps that you think that a health coach who is trying to get scratch the six-figure surface, what would they be doing? What do you think is the first thing? I know there's a lot of opinions about this. I'm curious to
Mm.
hear yours.
Yeah, for sure. No, obviously the first step would be to, make a business plan. Okay, get your numbers right. Like, how much, what is it, what is the amount or figures that you actually want to crush every single month, or how many clients do you want to crush, right? Get every single month, right? And then you get your numbers right. So that's what we're going for. And then comes everything else, is like getting into the entrepreneurial mindset, then getting your niche ready, getting your offer ready, getting your marketing message ready, then having your program ready, right? And then having your lead generation strategies ready. So it's a step-by-step process. So you get your business plan. Once you get your numbers right, then you get into embodying that energy of being an entrepreneur, of a business owner, right? And consistently showing up for your business. The next step is to getting clarity on your niche, on your offer, on your marketing message. Then comes developing your program, your signature program. Then comes the lead generation. Okay, everything is ready. My niche is ready. My program is ready. My marketing message is ready. So that means that I'm ready to onboard clients, right? Giving that energy that, hey, I'm ready. Now, when the teacher is ready, the student appears, right? Or the student is ready, the
Mhm.
teacher because, like, is that? So it's you being ready. And then comes the lead generation. So there's definitely the platforms that you would be using. I highly recommend Facebook groups and LinkedIn Sales Navigator. There's this just beautifully work together. um, and then after that comes the sales, right? Like, you start booking calls on your calendar, and then comes the sales and objection handling, which is like, okay, what do you say in these sales calls, like in these discovery calls? How do you lead those discovery calls? And then when the financial objections come, like, oh, I don't have the money, or I have to talk to my husband, like, what do you say, right? all of those things. And then finally happens the sale. So even though it might seem like a long process, like we've made sure that we kind of condense it in a very short period of time so that coaches start getting traction because not everyone has a lot of time for their business. Things can happen pretty quickly within 90 days, if done consistently.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because being on more of the business side of coaching thing, that is one of the things health coaches, it's we have such an interesting way of thought, and I think I don't want to just keep beating up our health coach friends because we are all with one, and it's just. But you had mentioned too, so many people will go to school,
Mm,
Harvard, spend hundreds of thousands of
mm,
dollars for a piece of paper, but they
mm.
won't invest in a business coach.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it's a shame for sure.
yeah,
Mm,
but again, I think it's programming too. You go to school and you think that's all that there is to it, and the business is the most important side of this. Is everything
mm,
is like you say, business sales. That's how you make a living.
mm-hmm.
So
100%,
yeah,
100%.
very fascinating. I know I love how you put that package together, and it's going through it may seem like topically that it's a difficult process, but you do clearly condense it because as you're going through that routine of establishing yourself on a day-to-day basis,
Mm.
it is a natural flow to, like you said, that sales call where you're going to start onboarding clients, and it makes a nice revenue stream, and I appreciate that. So yeah, I think you very much expressed that perfectly.
No, thanks for saying that. And you know what I've noticed, Omar, is like that thing is changing. Though a lot of health coaches and like coaches generally are being more open to business coaching. And I know that for a fact because I connect with a lot of health coaches on a regular basis. And, sometimes a lot of coaches already have business coaches. And I feel like a sense of joy, it's not that you hired me, but you already have help. That's a great thing, which means that you're investing in yourself. So
Yeah, yeah.
definitely, I feel like the trend is definitely changing. And a lot of health coaches are seeing the importance of working with a business coach because really that in essence, we can learn all of the, like you said, we can go to Harvard and I've got two master's degrees, by the way, but they did not help me,
Right, right,
so,
right.
so definitely, working with a business mentor, we need mentorship. Like you, and, we all need mentors because they can just get us there faster. We don't have to take a humongous amount of time to actually figure it out. Like they've got that experience, and it's always again coming back to Tony Robbins because he's just my favorite person. He always says proximity is power. That's his line. That's his kind of classic line. Proximity is power. What do I mean by that? It's like the more closer you are to people, or you start hanging out with people that you want to become, you actually start becoming like them. So when Tony started his business and he was just a fresher, right? Like he wasn't making money. He started hanging out and spending time with investment bankers, with wealthy people so that he starts to become like them. So it's a company that affects us. So, one of the things that I always look at when I'm looking at or hiring a business mentor is like how well are they doing in their business? That kind of defines everything for me. And yeah, so that's why it's always good to have that mentorship so that you start thinking like them, you start having that sense of community of like-minded people thinking together um, on one thing, and that's just building and scaling your business.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's an important aspect of all types of things. Like it says, your businesses, like your health, your
Hmm.
relationships. What is it? Yeah, the average of the five people you surround yourself with. So yeah, I
Mm,
would definitely get that. I
correct.
I think I want to end in with this particular question because I love that you're interacting with so many health coaches. I'm curious, how do you feel the public's perception of health coaches is? I've always
Mm,
had this thing where people we're kind of a new kid on the block, right? People are
mm.
familiar with like nutritionists because that's oh, I'm a health coach. Oh, you're a nutritionist? No, oh, no, are you a dietitian? Like it kind of like like
Yeah,
our label hasn't really established itself 100% in society, I feel. But
yeah.
I think it's changing, and I was hoping to hear that you're seeing the same thing.
Yes, so that's a good point actually. In the beginning, yes, it was challenging for me as well to explain what does a health coach exactly do, right? Um, but then all comes down to what are the results that you offer to your clients. So today's market space, I'm sure you've noticed as well, Omar, is that it's so noisy, right? Online, especially on social media, like everyone's a coach. A lot of people are coaches. So then how do you differentiate yourself and how do you make yourself an expert or show to your potential clients that you can actually deliver? And the only thing that separates you from a regular coach is when you talk about the specific results that you can deliver for your clients. And that is the key. When you can talk about results, hey, this is what you're going to be, these are results, or this is where we're going, because that's what a coach does, right? A coach is someone that helps people go from point A to point B, bridges that gap. So then when we talk about results and the vision and we build that for the clients, it's more clients understand that. But yes, there's definitely some elements of explaining, okay, what does a coach do? But if you're talking about focused on results, then it just becomes easier for clients to understand, okay, exactly what you do, right? Then they don't ask, okay, but do you do that with nutrition or do you do that with workouts? Because your end goal is to help them get there, no matter, whatever strategy or whatever methodology or modality you use. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
You
Okay.
nailed it. So actually,
Awesome.
you've been fantastic. I think we could probably talk for another 3 hours, but
For sure.
promise you a 30 to 40 minute show. And
Yes, no, thank you. This is fantastic.
But yeah, no, we could definitely do something again because, like I said, you're obviously a wealth of knowledge, and I know that the audience would probably love to hear your perspective on other things. And there's just so many elements to business that we could go into, and
Mm.
you are definitely someone that could help us out with that. So before I let you go, I want you to just give the audience an opportunity to get to know you better, tell where we can find you, your social media handles, your website, anywhere where we can keep up with all the good stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, thank you for that. Absolutely. So if someone is looking to work with us, our container is called the Awakened healthcoaches.com. So it's called The Awakened. So it's THE. Awakened is AWAKENED, healthcoaches.com. So that's basically where you can go and kind of find what we're doing if you're interested in getting in touch. And I'm also on social media. Like you can find me, you can just type my name, Rashi Nayar, and you'll find me everywhere on all social media platforms. I'm always there, trying to give value. And yeah, so that would be the best way.
Awesome, awesome. So thanks for jumping on the show today. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Amar. Thanks for having me. God bless. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.